Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Liverpool Latest. Hope you're all enjoying your day today. I have a lot to talk about. I'll be covering some international duty schedule and results for the last couple of days, as well as what's going on in the future. I will be also discussing Jurgen Klopp's endearing words in regards to Mo Salah, and I will be discussing Andy Robertson and his lack of a decision on his Liverpool future. Speaking of Andy Robertson, in regards to what he's got going on for international duty, Scotland's already qualified for the World Cup, but they have some friendlies against Japan on the 28th, as well as against Ivory Coast on the 31st. Seems like Liverpool Academy player Kieran Morrison is also a part of the Northern Ireland squad who would have faced Italy this past Thursday. And since I already know the result of that, I know that Italy already defeated Northern Ireland, crushing any chance they had of moving on to the World Cup. Lewis Kumas is also a part of the Wales squad, and they also took on Bosnia and Herzegovina. I always just say Bosnia. It just makes our life so much easier. So they took on Bosnia, and it seems as though I don't think they fared all that well either, but I will check the results on my actual notes instead of reading through this article to give you guys the list of everyone who is actually participating in international duty. Konate and Ekitike will also be doing some work for France. They have already faced Brazil. I'll get to those results in a second. They're also facing Colombia on March 29th. Florian Wirtz is playing for Germany and would have already faced, or if not, has already faced Switzerland today on the 27th, and on the 30th they will be facing Ivory Coast. Not that it matters much for Dominik Szoboszlai and Milos Kerkez, but since Hungary is already out of World Cup contention, they are basically taking on, well, currently on loan, Kostas Tsimikas on the 31st of March, as well as facing Slovenia tomorrow, or in this case today, when this video gets uploaded, on the 28th. So everybody is more or less missed out on the World Cup, as a bummer as that might is. So they're just going to go out and have a grand old time. Georgi Mamardashvili is also in goal for Georgia, as they faced Israel, and they will be facing Lithuania on the 29th, and it seems as though Chiesa, who was supposed to play for Italy, would have been a part of international duty, but as I reported earlier this week, that will not be the case due to injury. And of course, the Dutchmen, the quartet of Dutchmen, because instead of, it seems as though Slot's trying to turn us into a Dutch team, Van Dijk, Frimpong, Gravenberch, and Gakpo will be taking on Norway on the 27th and later on the 31st, facing Ecuador. McAllister has to go all the way to Zambia on the 27th and will also face Qatar, what was supposed to be March 31st. But it seems as though that game has been postponed. Our young guys are also still doing a little bit of work in their own right on this international break. Rio and Trey Nioni are two members of the England under-19 squad, and they will be facing Bulgaria. Well, they would have already faced Bulgaria on the 25th, and Spain on the 28th. And Croatia later on the 31st. So a lot of game time for this duo for the under-19 squad. That will be something to watch for sure. So, we've talked about who is a part of the international break. Now who is going to be more or less missing out. It seems as though Woodman, Gomez, Ramsey, and Jones will all be missing out on international duty, according to what's the site I'm reading? I don't even know what I'm reading. There we go. This is Anfield. According to This is Anfield, because I look at so many different sources for Liverpool, This is Anfield states that Woodman, Goman, and Ramsey and Jones are not going to be a part of the international squads, or they have been left out, or might even be on the bench. Who knows? I'm not really sure what's going on there, but it is a bummer to see at least a couple of those guys not get any time on the pitch, specifically Gomez and Jones. I also don't think that Trent Alexander-Arnold from Real Madrid, formerly of Liverpool, is getting any shot either. So it's not necessarily shocking. It seems as though England has a pretty set squad that they are confident in. And of course, those who are injured and can't compete anyway include Alisson Becker, Giovanni Leone, Connor Bradley, Wataru Endo, Mo Salah, Alexander Isak, Stefan Bajcetic, Jadon Danns, and of course, Federico Chiesa. Now, I've talked about who's actually participating. Let's get into some results. Probably the most notable of the matches that took place on the 27th was France versus Brazil, where Mbappe scored in the 32nd minute, and about a half an hour later, Hugo Ekitike did himself a favor and scored in the 65th minute as well to give France the win 2-1 over Brazil. So very good for Ekitike. As far as Konate goes, from what I understand, he did start the match. Funny enough, when I was scrolling through TikTok, a live happened to come up on my feed, and it was a guy who I guess was watching this match live and reacting to it as it was going on. And apparently, Konate was not faring all that well. From if I remember the gentleman's words correctly, he said that he wasn't just doing terrible in the Premier League. It seems like that has carried over to international duty as well. So it looks to me like Konate had a bit of a stinker on the field against Brazil in that match. But I didn't watch it. I can't attest to what happened. I can only go off what I was hearing from a few people who were talking about it online. So nonetheless, good for Ekitike that he was able to get a goal for sure, especially alongside Mbappe, who's more or less been France's golden child for the better part of almost 10 years now. So Georgia and Israel. Now, I know how some of us might feel about Israel. I'm not here to get political about it. That said, Georgia and Israel drew 2-2 with Georgi Mamardashvili in net. Apparently let 2 goals go past him against a Israeli squad. And that I'm not going to sit here and say I know anything about Georgia's football team or Israel's football team. But as far as I'm concerned, how could we let Israel score past Mamardashvili? If he can let like fucking taxi drivers score on him, who's to say that when Erling Haaland comes by, or Doku in the FA Cup match when we have to face Man City, who's to say that he's just gonna let it go through? Like, this is why I can't stand Mamardashvili. I'm sure he's a pretty solid keeper. Like, he's an okay keeper. He's not terrible, but he's not great either. And maybe it's the fact that all of our keeping has been kind of relatively crap lately, because, let's be fair, Becker hasn't been doing that much better. But it looks to me like Mamardashvili makes me more and more scared with each passing day. Wales and Bosnia drew. Bosnia, well, apparently they did not draw. They won on penalties, Bosnia, thus defeating Wales. And it seems as though Kumos was an unused substitute in said match. The England under-19 squad versus Serbia under-19 squad. Traineoni started. Rio was a substitute on the pitch, and England still lost 2-0 against Serbia in that match, which is a bummer for sure. So I don't necessarily think that is a testament to how bad either player had played, because frankly, I didn't see the match. I don't know how well they played, but the fact that they lost 2-0 against Serbia is not necessarily ideal from a Liverpool fan's perspective, considering these gentlemen are supposed to be the future of the team. So a very tough result for the youth squad for sure. Hungary under 21s and Croatia under 21. Armin Pesci is also one of our guys. I believe he's part of the academy maybe working his way up and down the senior level. And it seems as though he played, but Croatia defeated Hungary 2-0. So a couple of positives, couple of negatives, and one I see as a negative result, even though it's more of a balanced deal, considering Mamardashvili and Georgia drew with Israel, but letting two go past them is a bit of a questionable, very questionable decision to do. So, very bummer. Very big bummer on all accounts. Of course, I will be touching on more international games as time goes on. I am, and even though half of them are going to be friendlies anyway, like none of these are really necessarily competitive matches. These are just matches that are taking place for whatever reason, because qualifications for some of these teams have already happened. But I do want to follow the players that are involved in these matches, because I believe that their standalone performances will make or break them as they go back from international duty to their respective clubs, which, of course, as we all know, is Liverpool. Speaking of Liverpool, let's talk about Mo Salah. Not like I haven't been doing that all week. According to Jurgen Klopp, Mo Salah is one of the all-time greats when it comes to anyone who's ever put on a Liverpool shirt. He was very unequivocal in this statement, for sure. But he avoids any sort of ranking across any eras because for Jurgen and his time with the team, and this is a direct quote from him, in my time, he's definitely up there with the greatest. And I think that is a very positive thing to say. Because, let's be fair, Mo Salah spent more or less his entire Liverpool career, outside of maybe the last 2 years, with Jurgen Klopp. And although not every year was necessarily peaches, rainbows, and kittens and puppies, there were some struggles there. I've seen some arguments on the sidelines here and there, and some people were unhappy with either party's behaviors at that time. Doesn't change the fact that they still won a lot together and accomplished a lot together. So obviously, Klopp has very kind words to say about Mo. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, he has 255 goals for the team, 119 assists in, nonetheless, 435 appearances. And for the modern era, Klopp goes on to say that those numbers are absolutely ridiculous and more or less unlikely to be matched in the near future. So it means a lot coming from him. But why I'm bringing this up, this article and this talk, is because we've heard Klopp speak a lot about Mo. And yet, as far as I have seen, and this is just me being subjective, this is not, well, sort of is anti-Slot rhetoric here, but Slot hasn't really said too much about the decision for Mo to leave. Is it because that he might be part of the reason for it? Not sure. Nonetheless, the fact that the current manager has yet to say any sort of endearing words, positive words, well wishes about a player who's been such an instrumental part of the club like Mo Salah, I question what's going on with that, because it's a little suspect. And, you know, I've seen jokes about Slot always going to Ibiza because he's always on a plane going to that country or that area. And maybe that's what he's doing. He's on vacation once again in Ibiza. But if you ask me, I think the lack of words is also very telling without having to say much at all. So it goes to show that maybe, perhaps, some of our fears might have been true, that the reason for Mo leaving did in fact involve Slot and the arguments and the harsh feelings that Mo felt towards both him and the club earlier in the season before the new year. And it's a bummer. It's really a bummer. I certainly hope it wouldn't. If that is the case, and this is all just speculation and rumor, if that is the case, it would suck to see such a. It would suck to see a player the caliber of Mo Salah, I won't say disrespected, but almost kind of ignored by some of the brass of the club, as well as the manager in charge of it. And what is important, though, is that the fans will not forget, and those who are past and present have also not forgotten as well, because after all, there is no true replacement at this point in time for Mo Salah on Liverpool. And just like how there hasn't been a proper replacement for Jurgen Klopp since he's left as well, despite Arne Slot basically getting us or helping us get a Premier League championship. Another player who I am concerned about leaving, and it's been in talks quite a bit since the news of Salah was dropped, was Andy Robertson. Keep in mind, Salah's contract didn't expire until next year, the end of next season. Andy Robertson's contract expires at the end of this season. And yet, still, there has been no concrete talk, there has been no concrete decision on the future of him as a part of this club. There is a lot of decisions that some will say that have not happened internally, and the fact that there has been yet to reach an agreement is very worrisome. Now, let's also not forget, Andy Robertson was also discussed to be transferred to a couple of different clubs, if I'm not mistaken. I think Tottenham was one of them, or it was some club that we are in the Premier League that wanted to acquire Robertson, and clearly the fans were very much angry about it, as well as Curtis Jones too, who was also may potentially be gone at the end of the season on a transfer as well. So it matters because this is someone that is very much captain level influence on the team and in the dressing room. Losing Robertson, you lose another huge leadership pillar to the team. Salah's already leaving. We know that for a fact. Van Dijk will still be a part of the team probably until the end of his contract, which I think expires next year. So we don't have much more time with Virgil either. Robertson leaving, that would be a double blow. So then who's really going to take that spot as far as leadership goes? I'm not really sure there are many players that will. Szoboszlai is probably one. I can see him taking that role for sure. But other than that, I don't necessarily see it happening. I mean, Curtis Jones, his future is still too much up in the air for me to feel comfortable calling him a leader. He's probably a long tenured player who can offer a lot of experience, but I don't know if I call him a leadership type because, well, let's be fair, I don't really think he makes much of a difference whether he's on or off the pitch. When he does do good work on the pitch, it's great. He's done very good work in recent months, but sometimes it's very few and far between. So for me, I kind of can't throw him in there like some might. I can't, not from my perspective anyway, but that's just, again, a personal opinion. So even if it's a short-term deal, like just give it one more year. Give him one more year. I'm sure whatever amount of money is agreed upon will be fine. I think even Robertson knows that he's coming to the tail end of not only his Liverpool tenure, but his career in general. He's getting older in addition to Van Dijk. So I don't see why we wouldn't just give him 1 year of a contract, maybe two, and establishing more leadership underneath them. So that way, when they do leave Van Dijk and Robertson, we have proper pieces to replace them and take the captaincy or the leadership roles over, because it's not looking good. And some people say that's a very 50-50 shot. I think the longer that we all wait, that 50-50 shot is more or less in favor of him leaving at the end of the year, unless some sort of miracle deal works itself into the news, and that's that. I was going to say Becker is probably another leadership pillar as well. I can't believe I forgot about Alisson Becker, but even then, half the time he's hurt, so when is he even actually playing? So that is my Liverpool latest today. I appreciate the fact that you guys stopped by. Please leave a like, comment down below your thoughts, and perhaps most importantly, subscribe to the channel and follow, because you don't want to miss this kind of content every single day when it comes to your favorite football club and mine, Liverpool FC. So, with that being said, when you join the Liverpool Latest family, know that you never walk alone, and I'll see you guys on the next upload.